So Mark Lamping, in these dozen years that I've known you, it seems like you've talked a lot about, hey, stadium, we need to take it forward. We're kind of at the bottom tier of where NFL stadiums are. So here's the question. In this time that you've been president of the Jaguars, how long have you pushed for something like this finally to get approved?
Well, the first public dialogue was in 2016, so it's 8 years ago. And then we put together a plan, which was also in partnership with the city, and launched that plan 4 years ago. And it reached its conclusion of that part of the process last evening.
So this has been a long road. How close is maybe this agreement to what both of you envisioned going into it?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's very close to what we had anticipated, and I think that it's pretty consistent with what we would expect other owners to see out of this market. And you know, there was some things obviously that we were not able to get in this agreement that were important to us, but at the end of the day, they weren't things that were deal breakers, like the entertainment district. That was a very important part, and became evident early on that it probably wasn't going to be possible to be able to get that done as part of these negotiations. And you know, we believe the mayor when she says she's committed to downtown development, and we'll get back to the table at the appropriate time.
Mike, as lead negotiator, you leaned on experience from years ago in negotiations and what you've done in service for the city over these many years. What was the thing that, how would you view what we just asked Mark? Was this deal close to, a finished product, close to what you went into anticipating? And was there something that was like, this is our toughest spot, our sticking point, the challenge we had to overcome?
Well, the process was terrific. The Jaguars had a lot of experience. They've been here 12 years, basically, and they've been looking at a stadium for many years. And the city had a lot more experience this time than we did 30 years ago. Right. So the process was good right from the beginning. They understood the capacity of our market, the size of our marketplace, the state not helping out, other entities not helping out. So their position and their vision was realistic, and we felt right from the beginning that it was very important for them to feel they wanted to be here. And Shad Khan has invested so much all around town, especially downtown, that we felt that we had equal leverage going in, that they wanted to be here, we wanted them to be here. So I think both of us and both teams had a sense of the parameters of where we would end up. And I think we've come in between the parameters that we felt going in, plus the NFL parameters of having to get through the other owners, it's within that box.
You both mentioned it briefly, but do you think that this will be approved when it goes to the owners' meetings in October? Well,
we have to go through the process. The league hasn't really had a chance to dig into the final agreement because it didn't become available until last evening. Right. But we've been on the other side of the table for many of these, and we know what's important to the league, and we know how other teams will view this. We've been keeping the league up to speed as we've gone through the negotiations, and you know, we've received a lot of questions, a lot of comments, and you know, I think we have satisfactory answers for those questions that have been asked.
Shad Khan mentioned that, hey, from the beginning of his ownership, he said, hey, I want to find a way. We've got to make sure that Jaguars football in Jacksonville is viable for the long term. Do you feel like that's been accomplished?
I do, and one of the key components of that was to make sure we solve the long-term stadium solution. That's cities that find themselves in trouble with their NFL teams. It's the same set of facts. You have a smaller market, you have a lease that is running out with the team, and you don't have a long-term stadium solution. So, you know, we could have been facing that. That's why, you know, Shad really wanted us to get way ahead of this, and I think it served us well.
How big a part of this was to fund a building that was used for more than just football and could be useful for other big events to come to Jacksonville?
Well, absolutely, from the beginning. Not only do we want to develop an entertainment district around it, but we want the stadium, and that's part of the roof. Not only was it for shade and what have you for the games, but it also allows us to go after a lot of concerts and a lot of events that were reluctant to come here because of the potential of weather and what have you. One of the things I learned is the loading of a dock dock in and out and what have you, getting that protected from the rain also really helps bringing in concerts and what have you. But it was right from the beginning, and if you go through the lease, you'll see that we're partnering in all non-NFL, other than Florida, Georgia, and Gator Bowl. The Jaguars in the city will be partners in all the other non-NFL events. So we're looking to do that to a very great extent, and the more we do that, the less dollars will come from the city and the less dollars will come from the Jaguars to maintain and keep the building to get a 30-year useful life. So it's a very, very big part of the future.
And Mike has explained to me about some of the difference in cost, game day operations. This is something the Jaguars say, hey, we're going to take on the bulk of that. Certainly there's a benefit to the city. What's the benefit for the Jaguars?
That we have control of the guest experience at Jaguar games. You know, if we didn't have control of that, it makes it very difficult for us to be able to deliver the high level of fan experience that our fans deserve and that they will be expecting in the new stadium.
So one of the things a little bit down the road now, stadium, if everything goes according to plan, opens in 2028. 2027 season, the Jaguars would be away at 1 or 2 locations. You've narrowed it down. Is there a timeline for when a decision of which one of those 2 locations will be decided?
No, there's obviously going to be a lot of questions, and I'm sure there'll be questions in October at the NFL owners meeting. But you know, we haven't spent a lot of time working on that because until last night it would have been a moot point. So we're now turning our attention to that. The NFL will have a big say in terms of qualifying those 2 stadiums, and you know, we're not in a rush to get it done. We have to be very thorough in terms of our analysis. There's multiple parties involved, and you know, that's you know, we just put together a task force yesterday to begin tackling that.
You were a huge part of a stadium happening in New Jersey before you came down here and joined the Jaguars. For each of you, what's the level of satisfaction and relief that City Council, with only 1 nay vote, said, yes, we're on board with doing this?
Well, it was a huge step last night, but it was one step of many still to come. So as we work day in, day out to get here, last night was very important, but there's still day in, day out, really over the next 4 years to get to August of 28.
When do you start working on some of those next projects that you've both mentioned, from the entertainment district or trying to complete the community benefits plan?
Well, the community benefits plan, that'll come up in the first
month,
council
right?
meeting.
Yeah.
I think it's July 23rd is when that'll come up, and we're certainly going to do everything we can to advocate on behalf of the mayor and her desire to have that community benefits program restored to its original size and scope. As far as the entertainment district is concerned, you know, we haven't really been focusing on that, although it has been in our back of mind for quite some time. Downtown still needs it. It needs it as much now as it did 5 years ago. The longer we wait, the more it's going to cost. So it's probably something we should deal with sooner as opposed to later.
How strongly do you each feel about this whole phrase, never doubt Jacksonville? Certainly something that came up multiple times today.
You know, I think it's apropos, and I think there's a lot of people that woke up this morning and said, oh, the Jaguars are committed to Jacksonville for another 30 years, and Jacksonville did what it needed to do to have a stadium that could support that. A lot of people were probably surprised this morning.
Yeah, and I was very disappointed when we changed our name from Jacksonville, the bold new city of the South. You know, we went to First Coast City or what have you. I really enjoyed having bold in our name. Yeah.
This is a bold
And
move.
this is
We're
a
back
bold
to
move.
that.
Yes.